Love smarter, not harder. Today's question. I dated a guy for a year and 8 months. We moved in together around 7 months in. I was certain he was my guy and my forever. I loved him so fiercely and everything was so perfect. I had no doubt in my mind. We talked about kids and getting married. 6 months ago, he told me he didn't know if he wanted children anymore. About a month after that, I found messages between him and another girl that were not appropriate. He claims it was never physical, but I explained how emotional cheating is just as bad, if not worse, in my opinion. Not only had it been with this girl, but numerous girls that he had been messaging and flirting with throughout our entire relationship. The last one being the worst, as far as I could tell. When we finally talked about it, he opened up to me that he is also bipolar. I had no clue. He doesn't take medication as he doesn't like how it makes him feel. I tried to be understanding and I decided to stay with him. And I did try and work on my trust with him, but it was not coming back. I, of course, still feel very hurt and feel like the entire relationship was a lie. I struggle a lot with the idea of trusting again. And when I was in the situation and I felt so sure about him, and now I question my judgment. And if he wasn't the one, how am I ever going to find the one when I truly loved him with all my heart? I did move out and we took some space. He still was uncertain about kids, so we decided 6 weeks ago to end things and to try to stay friends as we do still care about each other. Since then, I've gone on a couple dates with a guy and he so far seems really great. But at the same time, I almost feel guilty for trying to move on. I'm not sure if I feel this way because I still talk to my ex, and I don't know if it would be best to cut ties with my ex so I can heal properly and move on for my own good. I also have not told him that I went on a couple dates, and I don't think he would like it. And I also worry about his mental health now. Do you think it's possible to stay friends with an ex and move forward, or is that just crazy? So first of all, it's totally normal to feel everything you're feeling. When we love someone so hard and we believe so strongly that this is our person, we are absolutely wrecked when we find out that not only is he not our person, but he was lying to us and flirting with other girls and texting other women. I mean, it just absolutely shakes us to the core because what we thought was true for a year and 8 months wasn't. And then we doubt ourselves. I mean, we're hurt because we've been betrayed. We're hurt because it didn't work out. We're hurt because this future that we believe was going to be ours is not going to happen. And then on top of it, we're hurt because we doubt ourselves now. It's totally normal to feel all of this. Secondly, kudos to you for getting out, because so often when we do feel so strongly and we didn't see any red flags for the longest, then when we do see them a year and 8 months in, we oftentimes make excuses and go, because we want it so badly. And so you did that a little bit. You're like, okay, I'm going to try to make this work. I didn't know about the bipolar. You tried to make it work, which is also very normal. But then you did eventually realize that the trust had been damaged and that you need to get out. So you moved out and you broke up, and that's really good. That's really good. And it took a lot of strength. So thirdly, I do think you need to cut off ties because, as you said, it's getting complicated now. You are trying to move on, and you actually met this guy who seems really great. So I think that's a really good sign, because sometimes when we've broken up with someone and our heart is still with him, it's really hard for us to even see the new guy objectively, right? Because our heart is still here. So it's really hard for us to even see this great guy in front of us. But you said that you do feel that he's a great guy and you're enjoying your time with him. The complications that I'm hearing are, one, that you feel guilty, and two, that you know that your heart is still in the place with your ex, and you're also not sure if you can trust yourself anymore. So now you're doubting even how great you feel about this new guy because you're still doubting yourself because of all that went down with your ex. Also so normal, very normal, but I think the clarity that you desire will be much easier to get if you cut off ties. Now, I hear that you are worried about his mental health. Let's talk about the bipolar for a moment. Okay, first of all, dating someone for a year and 8 months and him then telling you that he's bipolar, big problem. I'm not okay with him withholding that information. 2, bipolar diagnoses, bipolar 2 right now, diagnoses are completely inflated. A lot of psychologists don't want to acknowledge this, but there are certain trends in diagnoses, meaning that sometimes a diagnosis just gets hot. And a lot of psychologists go to seminars and they learn about it and there's a focus on it. And oftentimes they, to my mind, make diagnoses that aren't accurate. And they're doing it from the pure place. It's not like they're trying to do harm, they're trying to do good. But I personally think that bipolar 2 is being out of control right now. It's being diagnosed for so many people, oftentimes because there's a medication that then can be prescribed. But you mentioned, so I'm suspect that he's bipolar because I believe you would have seen it in a year and 8 months. Secondly, the part that does ring true though is that oftentimes people who are bipolar don't want to take their medication because they are accustomed to the highs and lows. And even though they're undesirable to some point, they're normal. And when they take the medication and they're flattened out, they feel bored. They feel like not like themselves. So that's actually pretty typical that even when they get a diagnosis and get meds, they don't want to take them. So that part may be true. Again, I don't know the guy, so I have no idea. This is all just what I'm just sharing information that has from my experience with this. And it may or may not be what is going on with him. But thirdly, with this bipolar business, I don't like that he, again, withheld it for a year and 8 months and then brought it up when it's convenient to go, well, I was texting these girls and I was inappropriately flirting, blah, 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 but I'm bipolar. I don't know if he was trying to lay it out there as an excuse, but that's kind of what I was reading between the lines that, oh, now let me tell you I'm bipolar, maybe for a little sympathy. So I did not care for that at all. And getting back to where you are now, I get that you loved him and part of you still loves him, of course. But he's not your responsibility. His mental health is his job. And no one, even if you're married to someone, you cannot take care of each other's mental health. We all have to take responsibility for our own mental health. So I fear that you, again, will not be able to move on when you're still worried about him and his emotional situation and his bipolar. So really, the loving thing for you to do for yourself, for any future relationship potential, and really for this guy, because your ex needs to man up and take care of his own mental health. And that's not something that you can take care of, even if you wanted to. So that concerns me that you're still feeling this guilt, even though you're broken up and you're perfectly allowed to move on. I mean, he's the one who was cheating emotionally. He's the one who switched up and said, oh, I don't want kids. So if anyone should feel guilty about this thing going down the way it did, it's him, not you. But I get it, because I've been there too. It's hard to move on, and we do feel guilty sometimes, but he's not your responsibility. His mental health isn't your responsibility. So I do agree with you. Your gut is telling you that you probably need to cut him off so that you can move on. And the final piece I want to say, as I mentioned, when these things go down, we do stop trusting ourselves, but you're not with him. You didn't end up with him. And so there's a part of you that I'm guessing, as much as you were madly in love with him, I'm guessing that a part of you did know at some level that something was off. And you probably just didn't even let yourself think that or let yourself believe it. But I bet your gut was telling you that all along. I know when I called off my wedding, and then my next boyfriend after that was Dylan, and I fell so hard, and I thought he was the love of my life until I met my husband, obviously. And there was, as much as I loved him, there was always a part of me that knew this relationship was, if we really did try to make it last forever, it was going to be hard. I knew there were things that were off in terms of the way that we did life, basically. So I'm betting that your gut was trying to give you a signal that you just were so in love and you didn't want to listen to it. And now, because you can see that there was a lot going on beneath the surface that you were not privy to for that year and 8 months, you can see this as the blessing it is. And I know it's so hard and it's hard to see it right now, but I also want to give you credit. You're already going out again and trying to meet new people. So I think that's the healthy part of you going, you know what? I was duped, not my fault. So I can leave this behind and move on and try to meet someone who will be honest and true with you. So I'm sorry you're going through all this, but there's a lot of strength that I'm seeing throughout this as well. So give yourself some credit. I hope that's helpful.